guys to NewToHomeBrew, the channel where you can sit back, get yourself a beer, watch it and just relax. Here, 3 bottles of 2 litre each apple juice. Now you've seen the video posted about me taste testing the hard apple cider that I brewed up, and it come out at 11.4% alcohol, which was fantastic. We drank a gallon in one night and I was... so I'm going to show you how I make it. Now if you're new to the home brewing and you wanted to get into making beer and wine and ciders and all that, I'd recommend you start with this if you're worried about spending a lot of money and not liking it, because there isn't that much sanitizing with this, and you just need a demijohn, some sugar, yeast nutrients, and obviously apple juice, and it's dead simple. Alright, so we're going to cut to that now. I'm going to do it up here and I'll show you how I make the apple cider. Also, I can't take credit for the way I'm going to film it. Alright, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to add sugar gradually and keep testing it with the hydrometer and see what the sugars, if they all convert, what the alcohol will be gradually. Alright, I'm going to build it up like that, and the person I've seen do this is Craig from Craig Tube. Alright, it was his idea, and that's where I've seen it, so I'm not ripping it off. I just think it's a good idea and it's good to share. So let's cut to it and we'll make the bloody cider. Right, so firstly what we're going to do is you're going to want to sit your apple juice in some warm water and get it up to room temperature. Alright, like I say, if you pitch your yeast in it and it's too cold, you know, if you've just got it out of the fridge, it'll shock your yeast, alright, and it won't work. So get that up to room temperature. I've got my demijohn here that's been sanitised. I've got the funnel which has been sanitised. I've got my hydrometer and my sample tube that's been sanitised also. I've also got a sanitised jug which has got a pipette, turkey baster to take a sample with. It's also got an airlock and a bung ready to finish off with. Now what I did with the first apple cider I brewed up, hard apple cider, is I topped it right up to a gallon. And what happened, it didn't leave enough room for the vigorous fermentation. It ended up pushing it through the airlock, so I ended up changing the airlock about 3 times. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it down here just before it starts tapering up, to let any, you know, give it space really to do its thing, and then when it's done vigorous with its vigorous fermentation, I'll top it up with a fresh one of these. I'll open one up and top it up, and that way we won't make a mess. Right, so let's get started. I'm going to leave it about there, just shy of the second container, because when I add the sugar it might lift it up a bit. You know, adding sugar will bulk it up. So this apple juice into the test tube now, which has got my hydrometer in, and I'm going to take a hydrometer reading of the natural sugars which is in the juice. It's coming out at 1.042, which on my register here, it's coming out at roughly 6% alcohol just on the natural sugars. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some sugar to this, do another hydrometer reading and see roughly where we're going to be with the alcohol. Take that out of there, put that back in there. Now I'm going to add some sugar. The sugar I'm using is just glucose powdering. But I suppose you can use household sugar. This is just finer, so it dissolves easier. I'm going to add half of this 1 kilogram bag. Just going to shake it. Following me? It's easy, isn't it? Like I say, saw Craig do it on CraigTube, and the way he did it like this, taking different samples as he added more sugar, I thought was really interesting. So I'm going to give it a whirl for you guys. So that's about half the sugar now going in. All I'm going to do is going to put the bung in and give it a good shake up to dissolve that sugar into it. Okay, that's dissolved now. Really doesn't take long to dissolve. Okay, so we've added 500 grams of the glucose powder in, and I've took another hydrometer reading. So the first one was 1.042, and this one is 1.080. So we're up to 12.8% with a half bag of the glucose powder in. So we've added more sugar and we should be getting more alcohol. So I'm going to pour this back. And add some more of this sugar, playing it by ear. I want to put a bit more apple juice into it. So what I'm going to do is, again, put the bung in and mix the sugar up. Ooh. So let's drag another sample now and see where we're sitting at with possible alcohol content. So I've actually, looks like it's made it stronger than the first one I made. So that should warm me up at Christmas. So let's put that back in there. Back in here. And we're just going to put a bit more juice in. And leave it just there, so you've got plenty of room for the vigorous fermentation that's going to take place. Enough room to let it do its thing. And then I've got the second one here which hasn't been opened, so it's still sanitised, and when it's done fermenting I'm going to top it up with that up to the neck. So we've got the sugar into the apple juice now. It's all mixed in well, you can see there's none on the bottom. So now we need to add the yeast nutrient. Now I've got it's in a powdered form. So I've got my yeast. And I've got my yeast nutrients. Now add a teaspoon of this and a teaspoon and a bit of the yeast. And the yeast I'm using is a wine yeast. So it should deal with the high alcohol content, the sugar. And then we basically put the bung on and give it another mix up. Just like that. Now if it's anything like the last one I brewed up, within about half an hour you'll see fermentation in here, as quick as that. So that's it, that's now ready for an airlock, which I'll sort out. And then you just let it sit and do its thing. In about 2 weeks time it'll stop fermenting, and then you can either drink it then or leave it for a month to let it mature, still with the airlock in, and the flavours will develop and it'll clear a bit. So let's sort the airlock out. So here's the airlock, using a, I don't know if they call it an S-shape airlock or a bubbler, but I filled it with sanitizer to the maximum line, and I'm now going to add it to the bung. And there you have it, a hard apple cider that will be ready to drink in about 2–2.5 weeks, depending on the temperature. Just can't get it any easier than that. So give it a whirl, let me know what you think. If you've got any questions or comments, leave them below, and as always, subscribe. Cheers guys.